Welcome back and a happy new year. Today we're going to be discussing how to check your walking boots fit at home. Okay, so there's a couple of different reasons why you might want to check your walking boots fit at home rather than in store. It could be that you've had to order online and you need to check your walking boots fit before you take them out on your next adventure, or it might be that you've got an old set of boots that are feeling a little bit uncomfortable and you want to make sure they still fit you. Either way, these tips will help you make sure your boots are fitting correctly. Before we jump into the tips, it's worth noting that if you are looking to buy some new boots, the best option you can have is going in and getting your feet properly measured and a pair of boots properly fitted. Obviously, if online is your only option, then that's absolutely fine as well. If you can make it to store, one of our expert team will help you with your boot fitting, measuring your feet, talking you through the process, and also checking the boots each time. If you can't get into store, we do offer an online fitting service, and that can be found on our website under the Request Expert Help button. If you click this and send us a quick email, we'll help you measure your feet online and get some information back to you with what we think would fit you best. Now that that's out of the way, let's have a chat about some of our tips to make sure your boots fit at home. So tip number one is a really obvious one, and that's to try them around the house before you take them out on your next adventure. A lot of people get really excited when they buy a new piece of footwear and are really excited to take them out onto the hill and try them out. But the best thing to do is actually take some time before you do that around the house. We recommend at least 30 minutes for 3 evenings, and this will give you enough time to see if there's any issues with the boots. We also recommend doing some sort of chore or activity while you're walking around the house to distract you from your feet. So if you're doing the hoovering and you've got your boots on and you can still feel a few issues with the boot, then you know there's probably something not quite right with them. Tip number 2 is to strap on your brand new boots and go over to your staircase or over to a small lip in your house. Put your toes on the edge of the lip and lift your heels a number of times. What we're looking for here is any dramatic slip or movement in your foot. So if your heel is slipping up nice and high in the boot, it probably means the boot is too big for you. A little bit of slip really isn't an issue, and we normally recommend that anything under a centimetre isn't going to be much of a concern when you're out walking. But if you feel like your foot is lifting a dramatic amount in the boot, then it's worth having another look. Tip number 3 is to try your boots on at different points in the day when you're trying them at home. So it's really easy to get up in the morning and think, before I go to work, I'll put these boots on and try them for half an hour. But our feet do change during the day and they do swell over time. So it's worth trying them at different points in the day to make sure they fit, even once you've had a long day on your feet. So it might be worth checking them in the morning when your feet are at their smallest, but also when you've been on your feet all day, walking around at work, or maybe out doing your thing during your weekends, and you come home, pop them on, and just check that they're not too tight. The most dramatic change will probably be in width, and it's worth just checking that the width is okay once your feet have swollen a little bit. And finally, tip number 4, which is probably my favourite. It's actually really simple to do and gives you a really good visual representation of where your foot is sitting in the boot. What you'll need to do is grab your favourite pair of walking socks, pop the insoles out of your boot and place them on the floor. You're now going to step onto your insoles and check that they fit. You should have roughly a finger's width of length between the end of your longest toe and the end of the insole. If your insoles look really short in compared to your feet, like this, then they're going to be too small for you. If, however, they look like this and you've got loads of room at the end of your toes, they're way too big. This is a rough rule, but a finger's width from the end of your longest toe should be enough room for any swelling, but also give you enough room that you're going down hills, your toes don't touch the end. Okay, so now we've gone over a few tips on how to make sure your boots fit at home. We're going to go through a few tips just in case you decide not to try them on at home, you got a bit excited, you went on your next adventure, and you found out you had a few issues. We'll cover a few of the most common issues you could have with a new piece of footwear, and a few quick solutions on how to make that better. So the first issue that a lot of people have is they go out and find that they're getting a bit of heel lift in the boot. Like I said in the video, a little bit isn't a big issue, but if you're getting a substantial amount or something that's just uncomfortable, then that might be. The first thing to do is make sure you've laced your boots up correctly and make sure they've been done up nice and tight and they're really locking in the cuff. If that doesn't work, then a slightly different lacing technique may do. So the first thing you're going to do is undo your laces. Lovely job. So we're going to do the first cleat as we normally would. We're going to cross the laces over, come up to the top, and then cross them over again and back down to the second from top cleat. Here is where we're going to tie our bow. What we've done here is by moving the bow down to the second cleat, is we're applying tension lower down the boot, helping draw in the heel and lock that heel in, hopefully reducing any slip. If the issue is continuing or persisting, then the next step is to look at a heel lift. A heel lift is a really simple piece of kit that sits in the back of your boot underneath the original insole and helps raise your heel into a slightly narrower portion of the boot, hopefully removing any heel slip. The next issue is if you've bought a piece of footwear that feels a little bit too wide for you. The first thing to do again is to check that your laces are done up nice and tight all the way down right to the toe box to draw in the boot. If this isn't working, the next thing you're going to do is look at a volume reducer. A volume reducer is very similar to a heel lift. It goes in under the original insole, and this time it's moving the entire foot up to a slightly narrower part of the boot, hopefully helping lock in your foot and making that feel a little bit more comfortable, and also like it fits you a little bit better. And the final issue, but probably one of the hardest ones to fix, is if you find the boot is a little bit too narrow. The first thing to do is to loosen the lacing down at the toe box to give the boot a little bit of room to maneuver, and then potentially putting in a little twist just above that. So what we do is, before we start lacing up the boot, we put a twist in the laces, maybe 2 twists. And what we've done there is put a friction point in, meaning we can independently change the bottom laces, and we can lace the top of the boot up just like normal and apply some tension to help lock in the heel. That may then give you a bit more room around your forefoot. The next thing to consider is the socks you're wearing. If you're wearing a really chunky pair of socks in your boots and you're finding that your boots are a little bit too narrow for you, then going for a slightly thinner pair of socks might be the solution you need. That doesn't mean you have to sacrifice any comfort or padding. It just means you find a pair of socks that aren't as bulky around the forefoot, giving you a little bit more room in the boot. I hope that if you've had an issue, a few of those tips might help you solve them. And if you've got any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below. Just like always, if you could like and subscribe, it really helps us out. We'll see you next time.